evening. In this video I will briefly cover the sad legal situation with copyright, due to which I had to deactivate excellent videos like the episodes of the survivors. That will be very concise because I don't enjoy delving in sewage, and that's how our legal system looks like. It is designed to foster a plutocratic society. Plutocratic means a rule of the rich, because those who cannot afford to hire a lawyer for every single thing are left at the mercy of the elements to swirl in the air, because the laws are written in such a way that layman cannot fully understand them, and yet the layman can be declared guilty on the basis of a law which he cannot possibly understand in detail. And the worst is that the laymen have no knowledge of the secret doorways which allow, with the use of sophisticated word jugglery in a jargon which is again not privilege of the common man, it's only for lawyers. So these secret gateways in the law have been left especially for lawyers, so that they can transport their own people via those magic portals which make look the black like white and the white like black. And then I will cover a very important topic about the deceit that the newly emerging decentralized social platforms will provide some sort of escape to safety, and that they will protect free speech. The truth is that they were planned and launched as a very efficient tool, because blockchain is a very advanced technology, for even tougher central control. And while 2 years ago I was only warning about this in this video, at this stage we are already in the early stages of implementation. So I really hope you will carefully listen to the second part of the video, because that is extremely important, and the amount of people which are falling in that trap is considerable. And both of these sad situations with the copyright and with the blockchain deceit can be remedied very easily with peaceful means, if people just understand what's going on, and the only thing they need to understand is just to look at the facts. First, about the legal harassment on the basis of copyright. The idea of copyright itself to protect the labor which artists, photographers, etc. have invested in a given artwork is a fully legitimate one. There is nothing wrong with that. However, the laws were formulated in such a vague way that simple people with extremely minor offenses are becoming an easy prey for the bloodthirsty lawyers. Now, my research is clearly educational and research, and there are some provisions in the law for such cases. However, the actual text of the laws is so complicated that at the end I cannot really be sure, is there any chance that I have committed some minor offense or not. So in the videos which I deactivated, I used thousands of images. It is practically impossible due to time limitations to check their copyright status. Even for a single image out of these thousands, I could easily spend full days looking about its origin and still have no results, because often these images are found on thousands of websites. And even if we assume that, let's say I have used some sort of copyrighted material in the wrong way, I mean, the average price of the images is very low. Most of them one would get them for $2 or $20 or maximum 100 or 200. But when the lawyers are after you, the minimum is 4,000 or 5,000 per image per use. So the total would come up to something that I cannot possibly earn in my entire life. And lawyers, of course, they have their legal quotations about these estimates. Industry averages, official, with legal sources. I mean, when you go to a restaurant and eat mashed potatoes, do you pay your own portions or do you pay for all the people who eat mashed potatoes in this restaurant for the full batch? Of course, you pay only for what you use. So when you use an image which costs $2 for sale and 50,000 other websites have used it, I mean, what kind of damages and guilt are we talking about? It's so negligible that it basically should not qualify for court. Maybe for a minor administrative fine, that I can imagine. But I don't think any judge will be, I mean, that mean to convict somebody for such a minor offense. And even if he does convict, it will be a fair sum, hopefully. But the thing is that even if one gets treated fairly in a judgment, still one will be stuck with the legal fees, which by themselves are such a punishment that can ruin one's life. And lawyers, liars, sorry, I'm just confusing them, it seems. And I don't know, my nose is like growing 50 centimeters long every time I say lawyers, so I don't know what's the deal with that. But the thing is that this entire legal situation with the harassment around copyright, which lately is taking on unimaginable scale, why? Because the liars smelled fresh blood. It's an easy way to extract money with deceit from almost innocent people. Because what happens is people receive in the mail some sort of paper, which they often confuse with a court document, summoned for a court case, and they are quickly inclined to pay 10 or 20 or 30,000 just because they don't want to be in court. This is a very unhealthy situation because it is a fundamental rule for the legislative system that one should get a punishment which corresponds to the crime. You know, you don't get your head chopped off for spitting a bubble gum. Not to even mention that what is going on a lot is given a website will harvest images which are free of copyright, and because they can be used commercially, they just collect them and start using them commercially by selling them, and then they start claiming that they are the owners of these images and start suing people for using their copyrighted content, while those people have obtained the images from free websites where the actual photographer who did the work posted them. So this is the sick and sad situation with the copyright laws. The only remedy is to actually elect politicians who are against such nonsense laws. Such politicians exist. However, most of the people are too brainwashed that all politicians are bad and it doesn't matter for whom you vote, and that all elections are rigged and that's why it doesn't matter for whom you vote. These are false statements implanted by the mass media, and that's why we see more and more nonsense laws, over-regulation. Here in this video I have outlined what can be easily done to quickly and without any violence repair the entire situation with the stupid laws about copyright and everything else. So after I deactivated my videos because I had enough of legal harassment since years because of this copywriting, although nobody has taken me to court till now. The wasted time and energy in this type of nonsense is enough by itself. I had enough of that. But the amount of messages suggesting me to switch to decentralized platform was quite shocking for me, because the decentralized platforms will make the situation only worse. Since couple of years, one of the projects which the mainstream media is running is to glorify the decentralized blockchain technology and deceive the people that it will give them freedom. They base this advertisement on very shallow lies, which I reviewed in detail in this video, and now I will review only shortly. The biggest lie is that your freedom, your speech cannot be centrally controlled or censored because the blockchain technology doesn't have a central server. The simple people are the network. They use slogans like the decentralized media is like YouTube without the CIA, which is quite ridiculous because originally the entire dark net, of which the blockchain is just one of the branches, this is known to be initially launched by the secret control services, and it is still part of them. To say that a decentralized technology is immune to central censorship is sheer nonsense, because the internet as such is also completely decentralized. There is no internet central server. They are only regional servers, and anybody can get plugged into the internet privately. There is no like fixed boundary. It is also decentralized, and yet it is fully controlled by government entities with the means of the law enforcement. Initially, all these blockchain startups, including the decentralized video sharing platforms, they had a gratis period, but now that is over. The copyright rules in all these platforms currently is fully law compliant. It is even somewhat worse than YouTube in terms of copyright. One is not immune to the law while one uses such a network. Indeed, one is tracked even more closely. Again, the copyright being the brightest example of all. Now, when the pieces of art, let's say music, is copyrighted with blockchain technology, now we are talking about tracking, which is built into the music file itself. When the music is played, already it is tracking you that very file. This is very new. This is definitely not implemented for all pieces of music and images, but it is getting implemented at this very moment. It is out there already for some of them. And interestingly enough, it was exactly copyright liars, I mean lawyers, which initially got the idea of this type of software, ordered it, and now it is ready for mass implementation. The use of images is same on YouTube or the decentralized platforms, but with music it is somewhat more dangerous on the decentralized platforms, because at least the stupid YouTube tells you frankly when you use copyrighted music, while the decentralized platforms silently track you and are capable of delivering information to the right lawyer in seconds. The mass media ensures the sheep that don't you worry about blockchain technology, it will protect you from everything, because everything is just completely encrypted. Nobody can have access to it. Well, nobody except the founders of the entire system, which could have made, and I'm sure have made, the invisible part of the scripts in such a way that they can read them. And the fact that everything is encrypted and you or the ordinary hacker cannot read it only makes it more unsafe for you personally, because there is absolutely no way to find how exactly you're being tracked. To be more precise, a lot of the software scripts of this blockchain technology behind these decentralized platforms is open for everybody to view, and the professionals can understand what's going on. So there shouldn't be any fraud or tracking built in over there. One is ready to trust the honest word of a bunch of professionals. I personally don't trust even that. But let's assume they are honest. Still, there are digital strings of information which are passed from one server to another, and they cannot be opened. They are absolutely encrypted. No ordinary person or professional or average hacker stands a chance. Ordinary people have no way to find out what kind of tracking is included in them. That's why the cryptocurrencies transactions are so secure. They rely on this extreme high level of encryption. And over there is where most likely the devil lives. I cannot show you, I cannot prove you that by decrypting the scripts. However, it would have been a great surprise if the parasitic founders of the dark net have not made provisions for total digital tracking in their creation, the dark net and the malevolent artificial intelligence virus spread by the otherwise not bad technology of blockchain. Most likely they have built it in, and it is exactly in the encrypted files. Now, many people will object that you see people whose channels or videos are being unfairly removed due to censorship on YouTube. These people still can thrive now on the decentralized platforms. And that is true. I personally have never had this problem with YouTube. They have been suppressing my content. They are not showing it to people. They are driving away people from me, but they have never really deleted my videos. They seem to be doing that still only for really important political reasons only. But even the people who are now more or less free on the decentralized platforms doesn't mean that they are not tracked. And there is always an initial gratis period. YouTube in the very beginning was also as free as the decentralized platforms now. But this gratis period will not last very long. For example, the cryptocurrencies also had such an initial period of freedom, and now very quickly, within every few weeks, there is new central legislation somewhere in the world regulating this type of trade. It is now basically it has become like a mainstream regulated market, the cryptocurrencies market. Very quickly they made up new laws for special taxation, for reporting, for tracking. All the big mainstream banks now, they have blockchain departments. It is at this point obviously mainstream, the cryptocurrencies. And the blockchain with of the decentralized video platforms is not far behind. There is no way that it will not get regulated unless people wake up and start thinking. Please do not become a statistic. Do not fall into this false logic of the mainstream articles about the blockchain. For example, they say to change the blockchain and to make it like track you, they need to convince all the individual private users to change the scripts which they run on their computers, and that's why they cannot impose central government control. Come on, this is ridiculous. Of course they can easily convince the people to change their scripts with, I mean, laws. What else? And for those who figure out the deceit, of course they have police violence as well. But we barely need police violence anymore nowadays. People are so easy to be tricked. They will say, you know, it's for your own security, because so many people are getting involved in the cryptocurrency market and are getting plugged into the blockchain technology for this purpose, very soon they will require from the people to change their scripts for the purpose of security. You know, you have to keep your money secure. You see, much money has been lost because there is a lot of fraud and hackers in the cryptocurrencies market. So people will gladly accept central regulation of all the blockchain networks in the name of security. Now let's get back to the example of somebody being really deleted and banned on YouTube and going and freely posting their content on the decentralized video platforms. It sounds good, except these minor details that these platforms are still extremely small and one cannot get any meaningful audience over there. Maybe only for very few exceptions, if you had many hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube and announced that you're moving to another platform, then yeah, it will be meaningful. But for the ordinary channels of my size, I don't get any views at all because people simply do not use those platforms. That's why they have incentives. They pay small amounts to publishers just to publish. Otherwise, there is no content because there are no viewers, so people don't want to publish there. And also, I've never monetized my content, but that is a pivotal factor for most other publishers. And in the decentralized platforms, they cannot earn anything. It's just yellow pennies per month. So what's the point? I mean, video production is extremely labor consuming, and you don't work hard for 4 or 5 days continuously just to have 12 people view a video. This is not realistic. Just to give you a general overview of the budget of the type of documentaries I'm doing. For example, I published 1 hour unique footage of the Domus de Janas of Sardinia. If this was done for even a minor TV network, the minimum budget would be 1 million, probably around the average 2 million. Nobody would make quality videos for no public. That's why if you see any good videos on any of the decentralized platforms, that's only because they have been made for the YouTube audience and later on synchronized to the decentralized platforms. Except for extremely famous publishers, for people like my size currently to publish on these blockchain platforms is like talking to oneself. Nobody will hear. Exactly like Twitter for many years. The way they were suppressing the supporters of the right-wing parties was that they can post their tweets and everything looks fine. However, their subscribers simply do not see those tweets. So Twitter were caught many times doing this over the years. They simply denied the obvious, and at the end they even included that they are doing it in their terms and conditions. So now they are doing it even openly. YouTube is doing something somewhat similar to my channel. They don't really hide the videos from my subscribers, but they do not allow me almost do not allow me to get new subscribers. And even for my current subscribers, they put the videos in not very advantageous positions so that the people will not click and watch them. Instead, they will watch content recommended by YouTube. So for the sake of honesty, yes, I have to admit there is an element of getting less banned on these decentralized video platforms, but at the end that is meaningless because one cannot reach the actual people. And that's why you are given this freedom, because you cannot do much with it. And if this type of platforms ever become big, to the point that they can rival YouTube, then they will be surely closely censored unless the entire environment on Earth changes and people understand that freedom will not come from jumping from one trap to another, but instead freedom can only come when they purify their consciousness, because all the social structures around us are only a reflection of our level of consciousness. Blockchain itself is a wonderful technology. Just an example, I'm here in the countryside and my internet is very slow. So to upload a video onto YouTube or any other platform without exception, or file sharing service, it takes me many hours, sometimes even up to 2 or 3 days for a single video. And the other day I tried uploading something to library, this decentralized platform, and it uploaded in minutes. Is this some sort of mistake? I mean, really, the video was there, it was fully playable. In a few minutes I could even download it back from that platform. So there is nothing inherently evil in blockchain, just the current situation on Earth is that blockchain, as all other advanced technologies, are used to force technocratic slavery onto all of us. And the only way to avoid this is to understand what is actually going on and support the politicians who have bravely turned their backs into moving targets and are opposing this. However, they do not have enough influence because people do not vote for them. People do automatic thinking. Automatic thinking, exactly as I noticed 2 times I'm posting about this problem with the copyright. Both times I explained exactly what is the problem, and from the correspondence which I received, I was shocked because although I always explained the full situation very well, most of the people were assuming that YouTube is simply deleting my videos, although there has been no hint of that at all in what I'm saying. And people are making this assumption because of this general idea that we are innocent victims and somebody is controlling us against our will. Actually, the thing they do is make us perpetuate our own slavery ourselves, because being souls, we have our rights to create our own realities. Nobody can impose their reality on us. So the only way to enslave us is to make us believe in nonsense and believe that we are slaves. That's all it boils down to. The way as people assumed that I must be like a victim and somebody deleted my videos by force, in the same way they assume that I have no choice. Well, I do it by my own choice because of circumstances. In the same way, people always have lots of choices, but they're not consciously aware of that, and they always assume that they have only the choice which has been suggested to them by the mass media. So many people believe that by using the decentralized platforms, one will have some sort of privacy and can be somewhat anonymous. But I mean, if you have used any of these video sharing platforms, it's like everywhere else. You have to submit your phone, all your private details, often your credit card as well. So you are fully identified and tracked. There is no doubt about it at all. Let's, as a side note, review this service called Tor. They have a browser which seems to be really secure and absolutely anonymous. It is different from the normal proxies because they make your traffic pass through a couple of proxies, which makes it practically untraceable. Nobody can trace what have you been doing exactly. So some people argue that you see, there is some way to really remain anonymous on the internet. But the reality is that although Tor as such is not forbidden by law, it is not illegal. Nobody has been jailed for using Tor. However, the situation is that the local police departments cannot see what have you been using with Tor. However, they can see, they track that you are using Tor as such. And what happens is when one repeatedly uses Tor, one gets into blacklists, and eventually people get a visit from the police. One is being questioned, and if one is suspected for doing anything illegal at all, if one uses Tor, then it is kind of assumed that those suspicions have a ground. So I'm making this point to illustrate, in general, we're so stupid that we have made privacy legal. That is the sad situation we have created for ourselves. And to think that in this type of environment and controlled society, the secret Big Brother services will launch a project like the dark net and advertised it on the mainstream media and did not implant in this project total tracking. Well, I don't know how believable this sounds. So, how to actually find politicians who are for fair laws? That is that can be difficult because many of them lie as much as the lawyers. But I have noticed that at least in Europe, definitely the parties which are against the European Union, they seem to care most about the common people. The left-hand parties are the biggest liars. They preach love, but the legislations they do are absolutely in the opposite direction. And all the reports of, like, for example, in Twitter censorship, Facebook censorship, it is always that the right-hand supporters are censored, and this is ongoing. So I take this to be some sort of evidence that the left parties are much more involved in the parasitic agenda. Also, for example, in the European Parliament, the way they do fraud is they don't give enough time for the representatives to vote. Just they quickly speak the question so that you cannot understand what they are talking, and then you are given half a second to vote, and people have no time to actually raise their hand. And when you don't vote, the voting is so formulated that those who are told beforehand, they say yes, the others cannot say either yes or no because they do not understand the text. Only those who are told beforehand, they say whatever, yes or no, what they have been told. And always this entire scheme, this entire ridiculous voting fiasco works in favor of the right-wing parties, and this is really ongoing on. This is since the founding time of the European Union. So I really think that the left is a stronger proponent of the parasitic agenda. The right too, but it seems to a lesser extent. So as long we continue to live in this right and left politic paradigm, which is stupid by itself, but we are in it, in this game it seems to be better to choose the right path if one has no other choice. Actually, years ago I was trying to start a thread, something like an information bank where people from all countries could identify the genuine politicians in their local areas which are really against the parasitic agenda, which requires some serious research. Taking in view how much they have been lying in their past and what they have been actually doing, and not based on their promises. But the interest towards this project was nearly zero. While if I post something about aliens doing onto us without our consent, immediately the interest is in thousands. That's because in this victim thing implanted deeply in us by the mainstream media to make us helpless, to see ourselves as helpless victims, while the reality is that everything is going on with our own consent, and we can easily remedy it very fast with peaceful means. So some people have been asking me, isn't it possible to make a copyright safe version of the survivors? And of course, everything is possible. Of course, it may lack images of some of the most important evidence, but in general it is possible, just it will be many, many months of full-time work. And I don't see a point doing that since I almost get no new subscribers anymore. Since YouTube cut off the exposure of my videos, it doesn't show them much in the home page. They rank very low in the recommended videos in the search. They basically reduced my views 10 times. 10 times. That is a lot. I simply have no way to reach new audience, although the videos compared to the earlier videos have much higher quality and much higher ratio of liking. Still, when I can't reach the people, what's the point of making them? Most of the people who see my videos are subscribers since a long time and have seen the survivors already.